Now listen closely to what this Jewish guy says.
And I sat down with one Goya Schwarzer. I thought, this is the intelligent Goy in the building.
When he says Goya Schwarzer, the translation is as follows. Goya, Goyim, or Goy essentially means cattle. Jewish supremacists believe all other races to be cattle. Schwarzer means black, but it is used by Jewish racists in place of nigger. Therefore, the rough translation is nigger cattle.
For the Jews, we had as bad a time as you had, if not 100 times worse.
Interesting that he says, if not 100 times worse. Since when did 100 million Jews get pulled from their homeland to serve as slaves? I doubt he wants to get into the details because a careful review of the history of the African slave trade would show that the Jews dominated not only the slave trade, but made up the vast majority of slave owners. Here's Professor Tony Martin.
Yes, it is true, as we now know, that there was a higher per capita ownership of slaves in the United States of America by Jews than by white Gentiles. We now know from the 1830 census of the US of A that something like 75% of Jewish households own slaves, as opposed to just 30-odd% for the white population as a whole. All of this information is contained in the secret relationship between blacks and Jews. And all of this information is based on the work of Jewish historians. So how come that we have a situation, an amazing situation developing here, where the Jewish leadership in this country is trying to deny the undeniable? And the only reason why the Jewish leadership has been able to place itself into this untenable and indefensible position, it seems to me, is because they have become drunk with power. They have gotten into the habit of easy victories over our people. Professor Clark said no more easy victories. They have won some easy victories in the past, and they have become so drunk with the power coming out of those easy victories, and have become so arrogant and so conceited that they have come to the point now where they believe that they can in fact defend the indefensible. The Jeffries case has shown that the time has come to an end, that from now on they will be forced to deal on an intellectual level with an aroused black community. And once we force them to deal on an intellectual level, the Jeffries case has shown, and I hope that my case will show, that they cannot win.
Our little racist Jewish friend probably wouldn't want to mention that it was the so-called Jews who invented the curse of Ham, which basically says that black folks are cursed. You'll want to note that Mormonism, which was created by Freemasons, also had some nonsense in there about black people being cursed. Let's listen to Professor Tony Martin on the subject.
Yes, it is indeed true that Jews invented the Hamitic myth, whereby it was said that Ham, the son of Noah, was cursed in the book of Genesis. And somehow it was said that Ham was the progenitor of the African race, and that all Africans would be cursed and enslaved for time immemorial because of this so-called biblical curse on Ham. We now know that it was Jewish scholars who invented the story of the Hamitic myth, which has plagued black people from that point on.
And speaking of Freemasons, here's Michael Richards, more widely known as Kramer, and a Jewish Freemason.
50 years ago, you had your own tied down with a fucking fork up your ass. You can talk, you can talk, you can talk your brain out. Rolls out, he's a nigger. He's a nigger. He's a nigger.
Oh my God.
A nigger, look, is a nigger.
Let's see how the Jews are treating black folks in Crown Heights.
Man is calling for justice after being attacked in Crown Heights. Police aren't calling it a hate crime, though. But News 12's Nicole Ryan tells us the story of a black man who says he feared for his life. It's a story you'll only see on News 12 Brooklyn.
How does a walk end with a trip to the hospital? That's the exact question Andrew Charles and his friend are asking themselves, but still have no answer.
and I'm just working, you know, minding my business, and, you know, it just happened. This is crazy.
What happened to Charles and Kevin Evans still has them in a state of disbelief. They were walking down Carroll Street Monday evening. They say a group of Jewish men drove up in a black SUV. They got out of the vehicle. Words were exchanged between those men and Charles. The 20-year-old says he was beaten with a wooden object and mace.
And here are some words from a Jewish leader.
What is the difference between the Kofi Anans? You know, Kof in Hebrew means a monkey, a simian, a primate, a baboon, a orangutan, a gorilla, a ape, a monkey, dear viewers. What is the difference, dear viewers, between these three and the black racist anti-Semites, whether it's Kofi Annan, whether it's Colin Powell, whether it's Jesse Jackson, whether it's Al Sharpton?
Finally, the words of Malcolm X from the book The Autobiography of Malcolm X as told to Alex Haley. In reference to how Jews encourage white people to be racist toward blacks, Mr. X notes from page 380, quote, "I told him that yes, I gave the Jew credit for being among all other whites the most active and the most vocal financier, leader, and liberal in the Negro civil rights movement. But I said at the same time, I knew that the Jew played these roles for a very careful, strategic reason. The more prejudice in America could be focused upon the Negro, then the more the white Gentiles' prejudice would keep diverted off the Jew. I said that to me, one proof that all civil rights posturing of so many Jews wasn't sincere was that so often in the North, the quickest segregationists were Jews themselves." In closing, the words of Dr. John Henrik Clark, Africa's historian.
They have never been our friends when we needed them. In the concept of a historical alliance between African people and people called Jews is a lie and a myth and a misconception.